You go.
A Dalton, Illinois town board meeting erupted into chaos after the mayor, Tiffany Henyard, well, in this case, she's a supervisor of the town, jumped into the middle of a fight between her boyfriend and an activist who attended the official government function. Now, her boyfriend did that after the activist used a derogatory word to refer to Tiffany Henyard, and we'll get to the brawl and more details about it in just a second. But if you're unfamiliar with Henyard, we actually began reporting on her almost a year ago for sending this small town in the Chicago suburbs into nearly $7 million into debt. And when I say small town, I really do mean small town. So $7 million in the red is really bad news for this town. And we're not talking about a rich community either, right? So in Dalton, which shares a border with Chicago, about 15% of families live in poverty, census records show, burdened with some of the highest property taxes in Cook County. Homeowners feel the full brunt of the tax burden since there's little commercial or industrial development in the town. And there's only 20,000 people, give or take, living in the town. Henyard wears two hats in local government. As the Dalton mayor, she takes home more than $46,000 in base pay. And as the supervisor of Thornton Township, she makes more than $200,000 a year, records show. Now, there have been a number of allegations against her. She is not popular with the people of Dalton because they can see through some of the scams that she has allegedly engaged in, including funneling taxpayer money to her cancer charity, which appears to not have been a real charity at all, using taxpayer money on hair and makeup prior to public appearances, trips to Atlanta, Austin, New York City, where she would frequently fly first class and stay in ritzy hotels. In fact, so she taken during Henyard's term ran the city over $67,000. So $67,000 so far spent on her trips. Usually when local politicians say that they're taking these trips, or when they try to justify why they're taking the trips, they'll say that it's to stimulate businesses within their jurisdiction, right? To convince possible business owners to move to their jurisdiction and stimulate job growth and stuff like that. By the way, Lori Lightfoot, of all people, who now works as a lawyer in the private sector, was called on to do an audit of the township, and she obviously found some misuse of public funds. Also misusing police services 24/7 as her personal security detail, and paying the cops an insane amount of money in overtime as a result of that. Using taxpayer money to lease a Chevy Tahoe for herself, and she did overpay for it by a lot. And she's been called out multiple times, each time trying to lie her way through it, right? So the town is done with her, they're sick of her. And so it's important to know that context and the backdrop of this brawl that broke out recently. So all of that brings us to what happened during Tuesday's township meeting. So township trustee Stephanie Wiedemann helped usher in audits and investigations of township departments and officials, items trustees previously lacked the votes to approve. Now, following discussion of complaints against members of Henyard's administration, William Moore and Kamal Woods, in closed-door sessions, the board also voted to put the two on paid administrative leave. Now, Kamal Woods is an important element to the story. He happens to be Henyard's boyfriend. She appointed him to handle youth programs, and it appears that he just collected public funds and did nothing. At least that's what the allegations are. And things erupted into chaos after an activist by the name of Jedediah Brown went in on Tiffany Henyard during the public comment period. He said, quote, "You've been a half-assed mayor, but if you wanted to get up here and earn some respect, then you should have been able to respond to Lori Lightfoot's report about credit cards." And that's a reference to the audit, which found that Tiffany Henyard used these, the town's credit cards for her own personal use and charged hundreds of thousands of dollars on it. Jedediah Brown, the activist, further said, and I'm going to give away the rest of my time because I think on behalf of the Black Cookout Association that we better take a vote, that we're going to exchange your black ass for Stephanie to be the newer member. So all those against it say nay, all those in favor say aye. So as you can imagine, the majority of people said yay, like we want this definitely. Well, after that, Jedediah Brown unfortunately said, "You gone, bitch." And that's when things devolved further. That's when Woods, Tiffany Henyard's boyfriend, and Brown began throwing punches at each other, which led to others joining in on the fight, including Henyard herself. However, it's unclear whether or not she was actively participating, throwing punches, or if she was just trying to break up the fight. So I don't know if there's gonna be an investigation into that. But according to the Chicago Tribune, Woods has gotten violent on behalf of Henyard in the past as well. So 6 months ago, Brown was arrested for providing public comment at a Dalton meeting. There, he made critical comments toward trustee Andrew Holmes, an ally of Henyard's, and began walking toward him, leading police to push the two men apart and arrest Brown. Brown said after that Holmes cussed at him and beckoned him. So in regard to the brawl that just happened, there have been no new arrests in connection to that brawl, but there definitely are some thoughts. We'll get to those thoughts in just a minute, but Waz, I'm dying to know what you think about all this.
The smaller the town, the pettier the corruption, right? It's just inevitable that this level of leasing a Yukon in the town's name and taking trips to New York and hiring your boyfriend to a fake job, dude, like to be like watching over the youth. It's just hilarious. But this is how local governments oftentimes operate, man. There is oftentimes corruption, but it's so ridiculous how how low these people will stoop in these positions. And the fact that this meeting, this town hall broke out in fisticuffs, nobody should be surprised by this, man. This is just blatant, just dishonest corruption. Which seems to be the theme of today's show.
Yeah, that's true. It seems to be the theme of a lot of our shows. But look, I am not surprised that things devolved to the extent that they did because I've been following Tiffany Henyard and it's just egregious levels of corruption, mismanagement, misuse of public funds. It's outrageous. And I feel so bad for the people of this township, for the people of Dalton, because they've been trying to get rid of her and she just will not go away. Recently, in an effort to prevent her from running again for supervisor, they took a vote to prevent her from showing up on the ballot. She challenged that in the courts and a judge basically told her, get lost, you're ridiculous, and didn't even give her the ability to repeal the judge's decision. And I'm glad that the judge ruled that way because she has been, leeching off of public funds in this area for a few years now. And it breaks my heart because this is not some rich community. And
exactly.
I disagree with you, Waz. What you have to say about local government is totally inaccurate. So for instance, when our mayor, Karen Bass, used our taxpayer money to fly to Ghana after she had received warnings about high winds and the likelihood of wildfires, I felt like she was engaging in good leadership.
Hey man, she probably met some Ghanaian royalty, y'all. She touching back with the roots in the motherland. You can't disagree with that, Anna. Come on now, this black queen, she went back to her Nubian roots. Come on now.
I'm all for that. I have no problem with that. But there's a time and a place, and maybe don't use public funds for that trip.
And it's crazy, like a lot of people don't know this, but I happen to be close to a bunch of bougie ass black people. December in Ghana is like a time of year that professional class, white collar, bourgeois blacks go to Ghana specifically. They've got like this very vibrant nightlife sort of environment. Like they got good hotels that you can stay at. It's probably the most developed country in West Africa, I believe. Either them or Nigeria. And so it is a destination for bougie blacks in December specifically.
Wow.
Which I got a kick out of, just like, knowing like where Karen Bass is, which with the type of like sort of constituents that she comes from. Not surprised at all that she was there with the black bourgeoisie in December.
So, okay, I want to ask you something, because there was a DSA member in Los Angeles who called into one of these left-wing shows and argued that anyone who's criticizing Karen Bass is a white supremacist and like should not criticize her. I don't care about Karen Bass's race at all. She has mismanaged, like.
Bro,
LA.
She was out of the country doing some stuff that was inessential.
Totally.
Period. She was not doing anything that was bettering the lives of Angelinos in the process. She was basically on a personal vacation. She was not doing it in her official capacity as mayor of the city. And I'm sorry, y'all, man. These folks need to wake up. This woke is done, guys. This whole like, oh, if you disagree with me, just disagreeing with my black ass, it doesn't just make you a racist, it makes you a eugenicist, a white supremacist, from just disagreeing with me while being black. Like, it's over, guys. Like, tell everybody that this is over.
Yeah, no,
shouting people down who disagree with you with this blanket statement about, you're one of the you're a KKK Klansman, you would have been down with the Proud Boys, it's just insane. I'm sorry if I would turn that into Martin Luther King, but y'all know what I'm talking about. This insanity with these woke people, bro. Like, give it up.
And look, it's concerning when a DSA member is providing cover for like a local mayor who cut the fire, the fire budget. Really, is the DSA in favor of austerity all of a sudden? As long as the person doing the austerity is a Democrat, come on, man.
This is the thing about DSA and I got love for the DSA. It's just the way that we frame things nowadays, where we talk about. And people will say this dude's commentary, well, that's how the left feels. That's not left wing. That is reactionary as hell. Yo, don't talk to me. In fact, I'm gonna call you the most incendiary thing possible because you don't agree with my stance. And also, by the way, I'm doing this in service of a freaking member of the ruling class and elite.
Right.
What the hell is socialist about that?